16 and the 20s, I'd come in and I had, I think it was Craig Young. Craig Young was our coach.
Yeah, wow.
And Youngie was the best. He was awesome. And he was really good for me because back in the day, Youngie used to work in the hold-up squad. So he knew...
He was a detective, wasn't he?
Yeah. So he knew Dad and my uncles, and I'd be like, oh man, you know, like here I am trying to make this team, and I'm like, I need to show him that I'm not this.
Not like that. I'm not about that life.
Yeah, I'm not a new, you know, I want to be. And so Young, he was a legend. He helped us a bit, and it's good because I had a few hookers in front of me, and I said, all right, so I need to use all this energy, and as we're talking about all this, all right, how can I use this to make some sort of gold? Like, how can I use this? Because I can't keep fighting because I'm going to get locked up. I'm about to get done big time.
Yeah.
I'm on the verge of getting, I'm on the verge of getting put away now for a while, for a long time. And so I started to, and having these other hookers in front of me was the best thing for me. I needed, and they said, first of all, I was that's how I become playing hooker. So they said, I was a winger / fullback.
Yeah.
Anything but. They said, right, you're too small, you're not going to make it. Thank you so much. Can I hug you?
Another chip on my
Can I hug
shoulder.
you? Can I hug you? Because you've just told me I won't make it. And then I said, all right, they're going to put you at hooker. You can play hooker. I don't know whether it was, you're going to play hooker because they want to watch me get run over.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's the weights room?
Yeah.
So then I'd started lifting weights a lot more and then getting bigger and then getting stronger.
Yeah.
And then I said, all right, well,
and if anyone's watching this bloke's got pythons on him.
Nah.
The size of the camera.
So I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be... So now that's when my favourite number become 14. This is your number 14. You're on the bench. So, all right, well, if I'm going to be a bench player, I'm going to be the best bench player possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this bench player, I'm going to make it a position. I'm going to make it so these guys can't refuse me. So then I ended up coming off the bench and playing hooker. And then I ended up scoring a fair few tries, and I started making a lot of line breaks, and I ended up, and this is how it ended up going. And then I guess with all this, I guess back from when I was a young kid, sitting under a bridge, sitting with all my cousins while they were all smoking, and I remember telling my grandmother way back then, I said, Boomble, I'm going to play for Fiji one day. And that's when she had laughed at me because I didn't realise, but back then, rugby league in Fiji didn't even exist. If you played rugby league in Fiji, you were an outcast. You weren't allowed to play.
It's a big rugby country, isn't it?
Yep. So the rugby is the chief sport.
Yeah.
So if you decided you want to play league, you weren't. You couldn't play any sport pretty much. If you're going to make your alliance to that, then that's it.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know if my grandmother laughed at me then, but even then laughing at me, I was like, thank you, Nan. You know, like you wait. And that's when, so coming into these things, and I knew I had my eyes set on playing for Fiji. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to play for Fiji for my grandmother because I knew that, so when I wasn't with Dad and wasn't with my mum, was with my grandmother. And me and my sister with my grandmother, that was our safe haven. So we felt we could sleep. We needed good food, and I said, Nanny, I'm gonna represent Fiji. And she used to laugh and say, "You're Australian." You know, I hadn't even been to Fiji then. You're Australian. You be Australian. I said, no. I said, I'm Fijian. You know, because my father's Fijian. Yeah. I said, I'm Fijian, you know, and I remember arguing with her when I was a little kid. And I think she used to love stirring up because she used to love how much of a young boy, man, I'd be like...
fire in that belly.
Yeah, so I'm going to play for Fiji. Anyway, then it sort of... So that's when it come about, and I just kept... The more I trained and the harder I'd work at it. And then that's when I'd gone from the Dragons, and then I travelled to the UK and with the Indigenous team. And I was over there with an Indigenous team, and I played 8 games in all around the UK. And within the 8, I got man of the match in 6 of them. Yeah, well, and then I was set to stay there. I was going to stay there and sign with so the Wigan, or I think it was Wigan at the time. I was looking to stay there and sign with them. And then I hadn't played any NRL games because I was only in the 20s.
Yeah.
So they sent me back. They said, because of the quota system and whatnot. Okay. And I didn't have a Fijian passport. So the only way I could have stayed is if I had a Fijian passport or I'd played enough NRL games. So I played none. So I'd come back to no club. And that's when I joined the Rabbitohs. And I went to the Rabbitohs, and then when I was signing there, and then the coach said, "Oh, yeah, mate, you can sign here." He said, "But you won't play first grade." Just telling you. I said, brother, can I hug you right now? And I want to shake his hand.
I've heard the story before.
I was like, thank you very much. So you don't know the mountains I've climbed. I said, but these, you don't, man, all these things that I faced as a young kid and all the adversity and the alcohol, the demons that were there were all blessings, in disguise. And it's like, that's built this case. So you're going to tell me you can't, I'm not going to play you. That is like, I don't know how to thank you,
It's for you, that's been the consistent theme.
Exactly,
every time someone tells you can't do something, every time life puts a challenge in front of you, you bring out the best in yourself.
Yeah.
So amen to that, brother. I love that.
It's like, thank you so much. Yeah. And it's like, all right, bro. So we'll see. And then South Sydney had lost. And then our reserve, I was just playing reserve grade, coming off the bench. And I said, I want to come off the bench. Let me come off the bench because I'm going to do a lot of damage for your team off the bench. And I just had one goal, and that was to break the line. So my mental state was to break the line. I didn't care what team we were playing. I wanted to break the line just once. I just wanted to break it. And I kept breaking it and breaking it and breaking it. And to me, that was the wall that the first grade coach had put in front of me. And he said, right, he's given me a wall. And I said, if I chip enough bricks away, I'm going to break down his wall. And so every line break I made, I knew I was getting closer. So the Rabbitohs back then, it was 2003. It was 2003, yeah. 2003, it was 2003 or 4. But they'd lost 16 games straight in a row.
Yeah, it's a rough
And
season.
I kept breaking. I knew it. I kept breaking my bricks. And then we played West Tigers. And then the coach had no choice. You got to play. They give me a start. They give me a go at first grade. You're going to play NRL. And when they said you're making your NRL debut on the weekend, I didn't ring nobody. I didn't ring mum. I didn't ring dad and say, oh, hey, guess what? I'm playing first grade. It's like I didn't ring no one. I said, you know what? I want other people to tell them about what had happened on the weekend. I wanted other people to ring them and say, hey, your son made his debut on the weekend. And but I think they were already watching, at the time. But I didn't say nothing. I played first grade, and they won. We won that night. We beat West Tigers by 2 points.
How good does that feel?
And I look at things, and it's like the whole, I didn't score the winning try. I did what I had to do, but it was the whole thing of coming from there to just keep chipping away, not giving up, and then to breaking that line, and then I ended up going from there to the Eels, and then from the Eels to end up playing for Fiji. And then when I went on and played for Fiji, now my grandmother, and she's the best. She's so funny. If she was to take you, bro, if she was to take you, she'll walk you through her house, and there's a big hallway. The lounge room's right there, but she will take you the long way past all her jerseys that I've got. I got framed on the wall because she'll want you to look at, and she'll literally walk all her friends around to come in, and for me that's like I can't. That was every bit of sweat and everything. It's that's kind of was worth it. That she makes that. That's.
You know what, brother? One thing for me that's been a consistent theme in my life for the last 2-3 years is this idea of purpose fuels progress. When you've got something to work towards, you'll be surprised what you can overcome. And I think for you to have that purpose of, I'm going to represent Fiji for my family. I'm going to show what's possible from where I've come from, the opportunities that weren't handed to me, I worked for. And I'm going to get there and I'm going to have that moment where I put on that Fijian jersey and I represent that country and I represent my people. And I think for you to have that purpose is what's made you the human being that you are, because you are so positive, uplifting. You're the sort of person that people want to be around. And when you leave a room or a conversation with you, you go, what can I do now? Where can I level up? Where can I go push myself to be a better version of myself? And because it is truly inspiring. I'm not saying that because you're in front of me. I've been saying all week to friends and family that you were coming on the show, and I was saying, I love chatting to this guy because I leave the conversation with a fire in my belly. And I think your story it's so powerful because of that. And you found purpose, you attached yourself to it, and progress followed. And bro, it's so nice to hear that you made it there. And you didn't just make it there to play for Fiji. You played in the World Cup. You're a World Cup player. That's the biggest stage.